Welcome back, everybody. Today we're here to talk about a new horror film called The Woman in the Yard. This movie is directed by, and I hope I'm saying his name right, Jaume Colette Serra. He's done a lot of movies that I'm a fan of. I'm a big Liam Neeson fan, so he's done four, I think, collaborations, 4 or 5 collaborations with Liam Neeson. I'm a huge fan of. He's done the movie Orphan, the remake of House of Wax, which I'm a massive fan of, that I know a lot of people do not like. And he's also, his most recent movie was in December of last year, Carry On, that was on Netflix, which I thought was a really fun thriller. I really enjoyed it. So this guy has done a ton of stuff that I'm a fan of, and I think he's a really talented director. He does have his own like signature style when it comes to certain shots in movies and stuff like that. So he's a really good director, and I was very curious to see him return to the horror genre. So this movie follows a woman and her 2 kids, and after they suffer a tragedy, one day a woman just happens to show up in their yard. And throughout the movie, this woman gives them chilling messages and chilling warnings and leaves everybody to wonder who she really is and why she's really there in the first place. Now, I want to say that I think this movie is not really a horror movie. To me, this movie felt more of a family drama that was wrapped up in kind of some horror elements. I caught really early on with kind of what they were going for and like what the message they wanted to tell. This is a movie that, is set in one location where you're just in this rural farmhouse and you follow these 3 characters, which the mom is played by Danielle Deadweiler, which I think she gives a really, really good performance. She's you believe her. She's very, very believable in everything that she does, everything that she's trying to portray, all the emotions and the grief that she's going through. You really believe it. You have her and her 2 kids, and you can tell there's tension in the house because, obviously, without giving anything away, but in the trailer of the movie, you can obviously tell that her husband has passed. And you can tell there's a lot of tension in the house because of that. This is a movie that I find myself very mixed on because I do enjoy and I like what they're trying to say and the message that they're going for, but at the same time, you don't like any of these characters. The characters to me are very paper thin because you don't know all that much about them. You are with them for a very, very short amount of time, and you have little glimpses of their character and their backstory and stuff like that. But as the movie goes on, the characters become more especially Danielle Deadweiler. She becomes more unlikable as it goes on and stuff. And maybe it's just me, but the son in this movie, he got on my last nerve, and it's hard for me to say that because it's like I get why, because of the tension and the grief and the stuff that they're going through. So I understand why it comes to that clashing that a lot that the mom and the son have. But you just have these characters that you don't really root for, you don't really care about. You're kind of just like, yeah, all right, and it's I don't know, it doesn't make for a compelling story because you have to be on board and you want to care about these characters, but there's not the fact that they're so paper thin, there's not really that much to latch into. Like, yes, you want to know the mystery and you want to know what happened and why this woman is here in the yard and all that stuff, but it takes you on this ride that's just not very entertaining through most of the movie. Now, I'm all I've mentioned this in past reviews. I'm all for slow burn movies. I think they work for me very well, but if the story is interesting, and this one, it's just, and I know that they're trying to set up a story, but in this one, it's a lot of just them waiting around the house for something to happen with this woman. It's okay. Cue a argument with the mom and the son. The woman's still outside. There's more waiting around, and then cut to a couple minutes later. There's another argument with the son and the mom. Maybe a little something will happen, and the woman moves closer to the house. So it's kind of a lot of wash, rinse, repeat. And without I don't like to give anything away when it comes to movies and stuff because I like people to go experience things for their own and form their own opinion about it. But this movie is more of a it's tackling those themes of grief and guilt and things like that, and that's kind of what the woman in the yard represents, as well as the main character's mental health. And I've seen this movie get compared to The Babadook in that sense, but in my personal opinion, The Babadook, it was done way better. I mean, I like I said, I got what they were going for. I had a few guesses of what I thought was going to be the woman in the yard, and I was about 50-50. So I was like, okay, one of the guesses I had was correct, and the other one I was kind of way off. And I feel like with this movie, yes, the execution was there, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't done as well as I feel it could be. Like I said, the story alone is I understand. It makes sense with the story because it wants to be a very compact, like 90-minute. I think it's less than 90 minutes, but this very compact, small thriller. And so you have a limited story, but you're able sometimes to pack a lot of punch into a 90-minute movie. It's been done plenty of times, but just something with the lack of characters, or the lack of focus on characters and the lack of story, it just, you didn't care. Like, it was just, there was no impact. By the time that certain things are revealed, you're just kind of like, okay, that's cool. You're kind of like, yeah, I wish I cared more, but I don't. And you're just, and it's like I said, the characters are so really unlikable that you're kind of just like, all right. So there's nothing to grasp onto throughout the majority of this movie. Now, I do think the directing is very good. Like I said, there's certain styles that this director has done in other movies that you can tell, like the way the camera moves when certain people are looking around, or when they get up, or they're like, upside down, and the way that the camera follows that. It's beautifully shot that way. And like I said, that's like this director's style. And it's cool that he's continued to do that, and he does more of that. I've noticed as more of his movies, the more movies he does. And like I said, I really like this guy as a director. Like I said, anything with him and Liam Neeson, I think they're a great pairing together. I was happy to see him return to the horror genre. I just wish maybe he got a better movie to do. I mean, the visual stuff also he has to do with the parts where the lady becomes the shadow and she's in the house and you see her shadow on the wall, and like she's pulling the daughter and all this stuff like that, and the way that they're able to capture all that, I think that's really cool and really well done. It's just, again, I wish you kind of cared more about the characters. And the ending is left pretty ambiguous. It kind of leaves you thinking, and it's one of them. And it's kind of one of those endings to where you're like, okay, was it this or was it that? Did this happen or did this happen? So you're kind of left with that, and you're kind of left with this. I don't know, you can kind of piece stuff together, but at the same time, you're kind of like, well, I don't know if that actually happened or if this actually happened. This is something that I'm trying to tiptoe over without giving too much away. But it's one of those things to where most of the time when it comes to movies like this, I really do appreciate a very dark ending or a bleak ending, because it's usually the route that Hollywood and most studios do not take at all. And in this movie, this was a take that even for me, I was like, damn, that is a pretty bold take and statement to make, especially to leave an audience with, because this is something that they're going to walk out of here and discuss and talk to other people about. And with this and with how the world is today, with when it comes to certain things, when it involves mental health, I don't know if this was really the right way to go with this. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, and so I'm trying to tiptoe around it. But it's also one of those endings that really plays with your emotions with it, to where you think something is going to go one way, and then you're like, it's almost like a fake out, and you're like, okay, cool, and you get this sigh of relief where you're like, okay, good, they didn't go where you thought they were going to go. And then all of a sudden it just reels back, and then it reveals something, and then boom, your gut punched again with the actual way that it ended. And it kind of leaves you really on this sour note that I don't know if it's if it's gonna really work for a lot of people. And like I said, it was a bold, very bold choice to go. But I just I don't know. I'm very mixed on the ending. Something I mentioned earlier with the talk about the way the director's use of shadows and things like that. I think something also that's really well done in this, while because you're going back and forth a lot between dream sequences and, without giving too much away, almost other realities ish, we'll say. He does a really good job of intertwining those things and making you feel like you're in this like fever dream reality type deal. And the way that the certain things are shot back and forth and all, and the way it transitions from one shot to another, he does a really cool job with that. I know with Blumhouse's track record, they've been kind of hit or miss mostly, especially a lot last year. They had a lot of misses last year. Now this is on the better side of what they've put out in the last year or so. Not necessarily on the level of quality, because I still do believe this is a very weak movie, like a very bare bones movie, but it is definitely a step up from what they've done last year. I mean, definitely the directing is stronger and it's more cohesive, and it does tell a more well flowing story, even though the story might be not the greatest, but it does get you there. But I think this will be one of those movies where, depending on who you are, some might get more out of it than others will, and it'll be one of those movies to where, depending on what affects you, what really gets to you, what you've been through in your life, and things like that, I think all that will factor into how this will hit you and affect you in that way. I believe everybody will get something different out of it. It may be very divisive for people and kind of steer people the wrong way, especially with the ending, but it also might really, really affect people and hit them in a very certain way. Although, again, without spoilers, I don't really condone what the ending of the movie suggests, but yeah, it's like I said, it's so hard. I want to talk about spoilers, but I don't want to ruin a experience or take away something from somebody that does want to see this, or possibly check it out sometime in the future. So I don't really want to rob the viewer of that. So that's why I'm having to tiptoe around my thoughts. So I apologize, but if you do see the movie, you will understand. And this also, I don't know, because I haven't rewatched it, but I feel like maybe this movie might merit stuff with rewatching, because you're like, once you know the ending, you're kind of like, okay, now if I go back and rewatch it, you're like, well, I pick up on certain things I didn't, pick up on before. And that's a very good possibility, but my only problem is I just don't know if I have the desire to rewatch this movie. I'm kind of like, it was fine. I'm like, it was okay, but I don't know if I have that desire in me as of yet to really go back and dive into it. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll pick it up when it comes out, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where I would have to see if maybe a second viewing would kind of merit, you know, a different outcome for me. So if you want to watch this movie, I would temper your expectations. This is from Blumhouse, so obviously, yeah, you're gonna have some jump scares and whatnot like that in there, and like I said, it's got those horror elements in it, but at its core, it's definitely just more of a family drama. This is one I wouldn't recommend to rush out to the theater to see by any means. I would either wait till it's on VOD or streaming somewhere, or maybe you can catch it on sale or something. It's a perfectly fine sit at home and check out movie. It's not one that I would have to rush out to go see. But like I said, it all depends. It depends on who you are and what your tastes are. I'm sure there's people out there that's really going to enjoy this movie. And again, that's the beauty of art. And I always encourage people to go see movies, no matter whose opinion you listen to, and form your own opinion, because it's just, I don't know. That's the beauty of art. Everybody sees things differently, and everybody, you know, gets different things out of different movies. So but to me this movie was okay. It was just all right. I a lot of things I know. It seems that the ending pissed off a lot of people. So I don't know. Like I said, so it depends on the person. But to me, I thought it was okay. I would recommend checking it out at home. But that's it for this review. Thank you everybody for clicking on this video and checking me out. Please check out any of my other 2025 reviews so far. And as always, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. And if you've seen The Woman in the Yard, please comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.